Good morning. This is Mark with SFG Top Performance. With us today is Charles, Derrick, and Jason. We have some weather that moved in on us. We have some opportunities to get some things caught up as far as equipment goes. So Charles, would you mind telling us where we're at on equipment? And
Yes, we've been applying fertilizer, dry fertilizer. We've been applying lime. We're pretty much caught up to the machine or the combines. Everybody that's got stuff turned in that didn't get done last year, we're pretty much ahead of schedule on that. A lot of soil sampling getting done, getting results back. So we're applying as fast as we can get the results back, and the weather's been pretty good for us. Super Grow, we're getting ready to start here. We would have started today with weather pending, but since the rain hit, it'll be at a later date. But we're ready to go. Super Grow wise, toolbar wise, we're in pretty good shape. Got a couple of them to finish up, tested before we go to the field. Looks like next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe the ground conditions will get cold. We're actually got some moisture now, so I don't think anybody's going to say the ground's too hard. We can't apply any anhydrous because it won't seal, but I think we're going to have plenty of moisture now, and it'll be pretty darn quick. We'll be going. So.
well, good. Some of the earlier sessions you talked about upgrading the elevators and facilities. Mm-hmm. You get them all done? Do you have storage room space left?
Yep. Everything's operational. Everything's ready to take grain. We still got plenty of storage today. Doesn't look like we're going to have to dump anything on the ground yet, so everybody's happy about that. Ready for the harvest to get wrapped up.
Okay, good. With that harvest getting wrapped up, Jason, where are we at on the mid-season crop outlook right now?
It's been pretty fast. Things have come out very, very good so far. This rain will help, guys regroup and stuff. The beans are averaging pretty good in the area I'm in. 50 to 55 is catching a lot of beans. There's some in the 70s and there's some in the 40s, but beans are looking really good. If you get in our southern part of our territory, they're not as good. You're getting a lot of 30s and upper 20s there. They just, didn't get the weather that we got, and they were a little drier for longer periods of time. Corn, it's doing pretty well, about 175 to 180 bushel and on up, some 240s, 230s field averages. So, corn's doing very well all the way across our trade territory, better than the beans. It was mature before the dry spell, and we had a lot of pollination that occurred. So as far as things that are working pretty good, and I've seen some good results on the fungicides, they're definitely paying for themselves everywhere we applied a fungicide. It definitely paid for itself. So there were diseases present, and even though the weather was dry, we definitely got a benefit and are seeing return on our investments there. Derrick, I know we had a lot of this in a plot. Can you tell us about our plot information? Is it matching up with our fields?
Yeah, sure is. The plot is showing exactly what we're seeing out in the fields. When we're applying more of these value-added products, we're getting the bang for the buck out of it, you could say. Fungicides in the corn and soybean inside plot has shown really good benefits, and I'm putting all that information together. But on the soybeans, we're seeing 5 to 7 bushel pretty consistently on the fungicides, and really one extra thing we're seeing is when we add that insecticide with it, we're kind of seeing a 1 + 1 = 3. I call it the synergistic effect of it, and it's showing really good benefits. We didn't see a lot of insects this year, but I think they're affecting more than we give them credit for, I guess you could say. We're just seeing good results when we add that $2.50 insecticide with it, and we're already making the pass, so it's not a lot of extra, and we're seeing really good yields from it. Our step down trial in the plot this year really showed that when we added more products, we got more yield out of it. It had really good data from it this year, and we're looking at it closely to know which ones that are the best, going to have the best return. We can't put everything on every field every year. That's just not economical. So we're really trying to find which ones are going to be the best. And right now, it's looking like fungicides are. In corn, we've shown pictures of stay greens there, the yields there. We're seeing big response even in a dry year. It's extending that growing season. And the soybeans, especially in those late beans, we're still seeing it. And we still have plots out there that when we had this fungicide in those late beans, it caught the later rain, and we sound like a broken record with it, but it's just we need to be applying those. It just takes the risk out of a year like this, because those early beans that weren't applied, there's some areas that we're missing 10 to 15 bushel in soybeans, and that's been in my area over at Melcher. We've seen it in Milo, seen it by Knoxville. That's been around people you talk to. So ask around, because those kind of yield levels are there. The most recent plot I did just yesterday was a sulfur and microsync trial on corn, and I was really excited about this one. It was 120-day corn. So it was alive long. It looked good. It's standing out there like a tree, and I drive past it every day to work. So I was really excited to see this trial coming out, and it's showing really good response. Just the first strip, we got a couple other fields to do. I mean, we're seeing 11 to 13 bushels already with putting out 17 pounds of sulfur, and then our 10 pounds of microsync. It gives you all the micros you need. It gives you a little bit more than a removal rate for corn on the sulfur side, and we're seeing really good benefits from it. And this is a good field that hasn't seen sulfur in a long time, so it's just that next step. And in my opinion, once you have the P and K figured out, once you have the nitrogen figured out, sulfur is where we need to look at on corn even before fungicide. It almost doesn't fail. We see really good benefits from it, and you need sulfur to go with the nitrogen to help pump it through the plant. There's a really important ratio there. It's between 10 to 1 and 15 to 1. Depends on who you ask, but you just need to have sulfur in that corn crop.
Okay, you've been doing these tests, and you talked about the one you've been driving by every day to work to see it, and you're happy it's harvested. Do you have other ones? And should we be looking at just one plot and take the results and say, hey, this is where it's going to be forever, or should we be taking multiple plots and combining them to try to get more accurate data? What's the best way to go? Because we see a lot of growers that have put in side-by-sides, or they put in a plot and they say, this is what I'm going to do for next year. Is that a good method of doing it, or should we be combining plots?
We definitely need to be combining plots and taking the averages and figuring out where the hybrids specifically are placed. We have multiple plots with 2 decal numbers, 111 day and 113 day, that in one field the 113 days winning by 6 bushel, but then you go to the next field and then it's flipped. The 111 days winning, and that's really good because then we can use that to build packages and it reduces the risk. You don't want to put every single field one number because that hybrid might have a bad year. So it's good to see that difference, because then the packages are doing its job. In one area one's going to do well, in another area another's going to do well. But we do need to look at those averages. We don't want to just take one strip in the field and say, that's the law, black and white. Yes, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. You got to look at multiple locations. We have plots over at the Pleasantville area. We have plots Knoxville. We got plots down in Centerville. You got to see which areas are as a whole responding best. So we need to look at those kind of plots everywhere.
Okay, so when you're looking at the plots, as you mentioned, everywhere, do you bring in data from outside? An example, Cropland, Winfield does a lot of plot work. Are you using that to help decide on seed any?
Yes, we definitely are. Winfield United, they have their R7 platform, and what that does is it takes their 200 answer plots all over the Midwest, and it tests these hybrids in different management scenarios, everywhere, whether it might be one eastern Iowa, western Iowa, into Illinois, into other states. So you have a full average, and it's true statistical data, and then we reference that with our local data. If we can, you say this certain hybrid is working well in the answer plots everywhere on average. Well, then we need to fine tune it to see, in southern Iowa in these high clays, what's going to work the best, and we have all the capabilities to do that, and we look at a lot of that information, and we can sure do that for anyone. And as we go forward, we've done a lot of that in the past, and I want to revisit why we do these plots and talk about Avail a little bit. A couple years ago, Charles talks to me about it a lot. We've used Avail product as a phosphorus stabilizer, and you don't know what the product is, so you got to try it. You got to try it out first. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it stabilizes phosphorus. It puts a polymer coating around it, so other nutrients in the soil don't tie it up. And we've seen huge benefits for years of that. And it's one of those things you gotta try these. You gotta try on multiple plots to show the benefits of it and use it. And we're using that product to this day, and it's really important on the phosphorus side to stabilize that, just so it doesn't get tied up, because these clays, they tie phosphorus up, they tie potassium up, so we need to do whatever we can to release these nutrients out for the crop.
Okay. As we've been going forward, Jason, we've looked at the chemistry all spring long. Did it work in the field, or we have a clean field? what should we be looking for this time of year as far as our chemical programs?
Well, I've ridden in a lot of combines this fall, and they've had a Extendiflex is, and I'll talk about it a little bit to start with because it's new. It was just had Chinese approval and European approval just recently, so it's just going to be coming on the market. So I haven't got to look at that one in the field, but it is Roundup, Liberty, and Extend. And Extend, as long as the EPA gives us approval here, we'll know very soon. And so we'll have 3 different modes of action with that particular product. The Extend and E3 and the LLGT27, I've been able to see all of them, and all of them have worked very well as long as there is a good pre put in front of it and the field started out clean. So I guess I don't care which one you put down, but that's what I'm going to promote, a good pre and start out clean. But there's a few things we need to look at, What are our neighbors planning? Are we going to be, dinging their beans? Are we going to open ourselves up if you have Enlist and your neighbor has dicamba, if it's EPA approved? So there's a lot of things open there. And then yield. I've heard good yield on both. Some are convinced that the Enlist has the best yield. Some are convinced that the Extendamax has the best yield. So I guess those are the things that we need to look at is what do you like? What's working on your farm? And what are your neighbors doing? And can you be a good steward and work together with them so we can get things applied and taken care of and have a clean field so you don't have a weedy mess next year when you go to harvest your soybeans. So, that's all important in seed selection, which needs to be happening now because there's, now is the best time to get especially if you're wanting the Enlist platform. I hear a lot of buzz in the country about we want it, but I think this Extendiflex is going to help a lot too with the Liberty being available even if the Extend isn't an option. So I think there's a lot of things there that we need to be looking at and making our decisions now. I know it seems like a long ways away next summer when we're looking at water hemp everywhere and not keeping it clean. It seems a long ways from that, but right now is when we need to be making them decisions to keeping our fields clean next year. So I guess that's
Okay, well, good. And with that, we're going through a lot this time of year. We're getting crops harvested. We're reevaluating our fields to make sure that what we put on them is working. We're planning for next year, as Jason is talking about. And what Derrick has given us is information, and all this fits together. And something important that Smith Fertilizer and Grain tries to help all of our customers with is information. We do the research plots. We do the testing in our own farms, which is very beneficial. We have the small plot, the inside plot, where we're doing replicated tests, but then we take those same tests to field testing, and that has been very good. Those are the ones that Derrick gets to drive by each day going to work and get to see how they're harvesting and how they come out. Do they all work? No, they all don't work. But that's because we're trying to give you, the farmer, better information as to what is actually happening so that when a salesman comes out to see you, visits with you about your crop inputs for next year, we can make very good choices with you as to what will work and how that will best benefit your cropping operation. So as you go forward, never be afraid to ask what we're testing today. Never be afraid to ask for the results. And again, never be afraid to ask, can you put one of those plots on my farm? Because we would love to do that. Because information is important for all of us because we all want to do a better job. I want to thank everyone for viewing us today. Again, come back again in 2 weeks. We'll be presenting more information to try to help you. And again, thank you for your business.